Hey everybody, it's Josh with Talk About Trek, and I am back today having finished up the spooky Trek portion of the year with Barbara Hambly's Ghost Walker, which I have to say is probably one of the most spooky and unsettling Trek books that I've had the privilege of reading. This has been a lot of fun. I was this is the third one that I've read this month. Before we did Station Rage, a DS9 book, and a TOS book, Shell Game. And while both of those had some, kind of spooky parts to it, this one very spooky and unsettling the whole way through. And I mean, in a lot of ways, kind of reminded me of almost like a movie, I don't know, like a scary movie, back from like the 80s or something, turned into a Star Trek episode. A lot of fun was had with Ghost Walker, which is definitely something that we all need. It's a lot of fun. So if you're looking for that, this is what you get. A mysterious force haunts the Enterprise. Let's read from the back cover here. Ghost Walker. Elsidar Beta 3, a tranquil, undisturbed planet, strategically located between the Federation and the Klingon Empire, home to the Midgewins, a race of people who throughout all time have lived in peace with their planet and themselves. But now times are changing. Unwilling to embrace any form of technology, the Midgewins have exhausted their world's natural resources and stand on the brink of global famine. Ouch. When Captain Kirk and the Enterprise arrive to aid the Midgewins, they find themselves caught up in the race's struggle for survival, a struggle whose climactic battle pits them against a creature of darkness and shadow, an entity who roams the Enterprise's corridors as if it owned them, an enemy who will not hesitate to kill to achieve its ultimate goal. Whoa, okay. A well-written back cover. It doesn't give away too much and kind of pulls you in there. You're wanting to know more about what's going on. Of course, we have a wonderful, and let's get a computer enhance. Let's see, look at that. Okay. Here we go. Look at that. Keith Birdsong, of course, an excellent artist, did so many of these covers. I particularly like this one because this guy is very cool looking, right? And the Kirk's very good looking. I mean, everything looks good on this, right? And I think also just the depiction too of like the planet in the background. I really like that as well. So kind of sticks with you throughout the whole read. This kind of creepy owl man, What's he doing? What's going on? So just again, Keith Birdsong. He always does a great job with these. So. I can't say I've ever seen a band. You know what I would really like? Maybe I said this before. Would be to have an original Bird song up on my mantle. Wouldn't that be something? So anyway, let's read a little bit more about this book from the book about books. The author Barbara said, then editor David Stern took the outline for Ghostwalker enthusiastically, but between the time he okayed it and the time she turned it in, there was a change in policy and a change of the approval procedures. This story is based on Kirk falling in love with the anthropologist, and basically the change of procedure was that was not to happen anymore. She said, fine, don't print it, but I still want to be paid for it. And they decided to go ahead and print it anyway. They did change quite a few other things about it, I guess, which makes me really interested in like what her original cut would be, because there were some references in here to Mr. Spock's pajamas, which I think would have been pretty funny. I think I would like to hear about, and just some other things too. So, in terms of the idea for the story, she said, I wanted to do what they used to refer to as a bottle show. They'd run out of money for a Planet set or any guest stars, so they had to write a show that took place entirely on the ship with just the main cast. So she wrote a book which was completely centered around Kirk and basically took place entirely on the ship, except for a beginning and an end, on this Elsidor Beta 3. So, what did I think of Ghostwalker? I thought it was great. I had a great time with it. It was a perfect spooky book to start out with, first off. lots of traditional creepy things happening on the Enterprise. Very fun. And then it takes a big twist right around the middle where you get like this big reveal as to what's going on. And then it goes from that twist to something even more unsettling than just the general spookiness that was going on earlier. And then you go from that then to this kind of, I don't know, this race, this adventure. There's sabotage. It's very interesting, and you also get to, there's these little bits and pieces that are thrown in that all kind of come together and fill in at the end really well. So just all together, everything tied together very well. And I like the way that the story was actually kind of bookended too, with basically like translations from these people's own writings, uh, talking about their version of their interaction, with the Federation coming to visit them and whatever. So I think that was done very well. That was done very well too. So yeah, all in all, one of the great spooky Trek books that I've ever read, and just another fun TOS book. And certainly looking forward to reading more by Barbara Hambly, because she really, made me kind of feel this sense of eeriness, and just like I said, felt very unsettled during a lot of this as well too. And just she wrote very well. So now enough with the summaries. Now let's just kind of talk about Trek. Let's talk about Trek for a little bit. And this particular Trek that we took today was a very fun one, right? No, not today. I should say we started this trek on the 26th of October, and we finished it today, which puts us in at, 11 days, an 11-day read of a 273-page book. And this was published in, I think, 1991. Dedicated to Mel, who wears a red shirt but survives it anyway. Nice. The appearance of weakness is the weapon most to be feared. When a warrior smiles in tender amusement, then his muscles are slack. Intellects of a warrior, translated from the Klingon. I love these little things. Historians note this adventure takes place during the 4th year of the original 5-year mission. So anyway, Kirk and crew are on their way to this planet where this sentient species called the Midgewins resides. And as I was saying, or read from the back earlier, they live in a way where basically they don't hunt, they don't harvest, they don't plant. They take what the planet gives them, and that is now running out. In addition, they are starting to have problems with disease, malnourishment, things like that. So the Federation comes to the planet to see, basically what they can do. There's already a team of researchers there consisting of, I think, some Argelians and Andorian, a couple of Vulcans, a couple of humans, and the Enterprise is bringing along their own anthropologist, and her name is Helen. And for Pete's sake, I didn't write down her last name. Gordon, of course. Helen Gordon. And she's kind of like a lead anthropologist, and she's coming over there to kind of relieve one of the other team members and take over. Now, during this trip there, her and Kirk have gotten very close, and they've kind of fallen in love, which is kind of, as she says in the thing, something that they removed. They didn't want to happen in stories down the road. So, that was kind of an interesting part of it as well, and added a lot to kind of what comes down further down the line to it as well. So again, it's a Kirk book, but really kind of the whole, Kirk, Bones, Scotty, everybody gets like a little bit to do, and Dr. Gordon, Uhura, Nurse Chapel. So it's not just a full-on Kirk book. And there's also just so many other little kind of side moments and side characters that they throw in too, that really fill out and kind of build the whole story, and then come back around at the end too in kind of fun ways. So So basically, how it starts out is they go down, they visit the planet, and the Midwinds want to kind of test the intentions of Kirk. So the leader of this tribe of Midwinds, his name is Arxorus. He does what you see there to Kirk. He does like this mind scanning thing, not a full mind meld, but just to kind of sense his intentions. But then after he does that and is satisfied, the leader of the opposition there, he wants to do the same thing. This guy his name is Yarbliss. And there's some fun names in this book. Yarbliss was a fun one, and you get to say it a lot, or you get to read it a lot. So Yarbliss, get used to that. Yarbliss, he is like I said, leader of like the conservative group. He doesn't want to have any contact with outsiders. He wants to continue living the way they live, living off of the earth, off of Rhea, as they call it, Rhea, not the earth, but their planet, and basically not changing their ways, even though their species is dying out. So you have these two opposing viewpoints there. So anyway, they get scanned. They beam back up to the Enterprise after a little bit of kind of a talk between Kirk and Dr. Gordon about what she's going to do. Is she going to stay? Is she going to go? She's undecided. If she stays, it's going to be 6 months before the Enterprise comes back. So a little bit of a love story there at the start, right? Now they get back up to the Enterprise, and this is when things start to go spooky. I don't want to get a dry throat. As soon as they beam back up, Spock is like, whoa. He senses something amiss, and he throws on the quarantine. They run all their scans. They still can't find anything wrong. But Kirk is also like, yeah, I'm feeling like there's something wrong here too. So they kind of feel that there's something going on, but despite everything that they do, they can't actually come up with any proof to that. So they shut off the quarantines and go about their business and start heading back to Starbase 9 or whatever. Dr. Gordon has decided to stay with Kirk. She goes up to the bridge to tell him about this, and he's just like, oh, that's great. And she's like, she's like devastated, right? Because like they're in love, they've been in love. She just made this big choice to stay with him, and he reacts in this completely like weird way, right? So she in the beginning kind of knows something is off. All right, and then you get this series of kind of scenes of all this different spooky stuff happening on the Enterprise. All of a sudden, in a lab, all the beakers are crashed over, or this guy down here in this computer core, he hears a bunch of knocking all the time, or this tool that was put here has been moved over here. Your basic spooky poltergeist, stuff is going on, and you get that going on for a good, 4 or 5 chapters in the book. Meeting these different characters, seeing these different locations, like for instance, there's this one kind of analyst, I guess, whose job it is to analyze different cultures, books and things, and scan them into the computers, but then get rid of them. But then he's got this little storyline where he wants to save the books, so he's talked somebody into giving him like a little room in the hall where he can store all these things. And there's other little side characters like that come in that just kind of make it really fun as well, and add to this section of the book where it's like a haunted, the haunted Enterprise, and then, all right, spoilers. Oh, wait, not spoilers yet. But then the really unsettling part is Dr. Gordon goes back to Kirk like later on in that time, and they spend the night together, and she leaves crying and upset. Something is terribly wrong, and she doesn't really say anything from that point on, but like you can kind of tell as the reader, and the author kind of puts off that something terrible happened. So you're kind of get like more and more you get kind of suspicious of Kirk's behavior. It's becoming more and more kind of strange, right? And then Spock is also kind of noticing this as well too. So it's then maybe like right around the middle of the book, it's revealed that the ghost stalking the Enterprise is none other than Captain Kirk himself and his his soul, his katra, has been separated from his body by this ghost walker right here, and the ghost walker has planted himself in there. But through Kirk's, you know, strength of will, he's able to keep himself together, and also through his, his knowledge and kind of training of even the Vulcan, I guess thinking of that, the Katra, and keeping that together. So anyway, he's able to keep himself together, and they don't give like a whole too many scenes with Ghost Kirk, right? They give you a few showing like this is what he's doing here, this is what he's doing over there, but mostly you're just with the crew and the fake Kirk going about what they're trying to do to figure things out. Now the fake Kirk is constantly stalking around the ship. He's constantly looking for the intruder, that's there. Again, acting very strangely. Not getting any rest, and everyone can kind of tell he's looking strained. He's looking tired, but he's the captain. What the heck can they do, right? So anyway, he's stalking the ship at night, and he finally comes up with this scheme where they're going to basically like blast the whole ship with this radiation to disperse the Ghost Kirk's energy. So as they're going to do that, and I'm going to start blending things together now because we're getting deep into it here. Before that happens, fake Kirk realizes that Dr. Gordon is a liability. So he goes to take her out. And he poisons her, basically, and then sets the blame on the Ghost Kirk intruder, right? Which, he just says it's like a ghost. And anyway, at this point in time, he has the Enterprise turned back to the Midwin planet. In the guise of figuring out what's going on, basically, right? So they're going back to the Midwin planet. He sets Spock and the crew to start dispersing this ray or beam throughout the ship so that they can disperse the ghost or whatever. And they start doing that. But then in the process of doing that, Spock is increasingly more and more suspicious. And then he kind of gets into the computer, does some things, gets around, and finds out that the fake Kirk hasn't made a log since they've left the planet, which is, different for him. And I think at this point, too, the fake Kirk kind of catches on, and he lures Spock down to the shuttle bay and tries to depressurize it, and killing Spock, right? So he does that, but then Ghost Kirk sends a message to Uhura by smashing some things and then writing in the dripping water to go down to the hangar deck and save Spock. So this is when everything kind of comes together, when they realize what's really happened and who the intruder really is, and they're able to kind of reach out and make contact then with him, kind of doing almost like kind of a seance kind of thing. Once they do that, Spock is able to then transfer his consciousness, Kirk's, into a partitioned portion of the Enterprise computer, right? So now they can easily communicate with him, and he is able to kind of see what's going on, and he's also protected now from this sweep, which would wipe him out entirely. So now you have this kind of very cool part of the book too, where they're all hiding out down in the bowels of the ship in one of these hidden little areas. They've got Kirk on a computer, Spock, Uhura, and Bones there, and they're all trying to figure out what they need to do to get out of this situation, right? Dr. Gordon is okay. They're kind of making it seem like she's worse off than she is, since they know that the fake Kirk's trying to get her. Lights went out. And we're back. Anyway, Dr. Gordon's okay. More spooky stuff is revealed from just the real, not the real Kirk, but Kirk's body inhabited by this guy. Just the fact that he's constantly stalking the ship at night, and it's revealed that what he's doing is, first off, he's been studying the systems and everything, and now he's going about sabotaging the whole ship, so that when he gets back to the planet Midwin, he can do his complete plan without being interfered with. So he has set up a complete, I don't know, web of sabotage throughout the whole Enterprise. Full decks being, vented of air, gas venting into decks, turbo lifts everywhere, completely shut down, and he's worked himself all the way down to kind of the bottom deck, down to phaser control, so he can enact his master plan. So now Spock and Kirk, they have to come up with their plan to get down there. So Spock gets sent down there. They have to cut holes through the deck. He's got to cut through all the little weird areas that were brought up earlier in the story, which is fun. Like I said, everything kind of coming back together in the end, where he finally makes it down to the phaser control deck, right? And now things really start getting crazy in this book. He gets down to the phaser control deck. He opens the door. He takes a shot at Kirk. The fake Kirk ducks. The fake Kirk has telekinesis, right? I guess I didn't even realize this because I knew like the ghost Kirk, he was doing telekinesis things, but this guy, the ghost walker, as he's taking over Kirk's body, he also has wicked telekinesis. So now we've got like kind of reminding me of something out of some like anime or something, where he's using his mind powers and he blasts Spock back against the wall. And then he flies up against the wall, right? And then like Spock gets up and he's coming at him again and he boom, blasts him up against the wall again. But then he hears the doors opening. And here comes Spectral Kirk. You got Ghost Kirk coming in against Real Kirk. And Ghost Kirk, he's got his telekinesis too. So now you have this battle here in the end between the two of them. And the real Kirk, the Ghost Walker, or the fake Kirk, he's got more control, obviously, than the spectral version of Kirk. So he's blasting him around. He's blasting doors off of their hinges. He's kind of like blasting his essence away with each of his mind bullets that he's shooting at him, right? But the spectral Kirk draws him away from the room, right? Draws him away, and he keeps blasting him, blasting him, blasting him. Until finally he's like, oh, he's got him. And he goes back, and he looks down to Spock, and he sees Spock is still knocked out and bleeding. So the Ghost Walker goes to complete his mission, which, crazily enough, was to wipe out this whole colony on his planet, the one where like the disease is. So that would kind of stem the whole problem. So he's willing to wipe out thousands of his people. So he goes to the controls, he hits it, the phaser blasts, he sees it hits the planet, and then he gives up, basically. He's out of energy at that point. He's been gassed. He's been awake for like weeks. So the Kirk body passes out, and Yarbliss, this Katra of Yarbliss, leaves the body and flies away, or whatever. Flies back to the planet, right? And that's the end of the chapter. The next chapter picks up in sickbay, like the last chapter, with Scotty saying, what in the world was going on? What was going on? And that's when, basically, like he's like, well, we'll explain it to you later. Right now, what we have to do is get Kirk's Katra put back into his body. So they have to contact the planet, and they send Dr. Gordon down to meet with Arcturus, right? He's the leader down there. And once everything's explained and kind of Yarbliss is outed for what he did, he's thrown out of their consciousness web, which is like their big kind of group mind meld that they do, right? Which is terrible for that guy. He's thrown out of their consciousness web. He tries to explain that he was just trying to do it for them, but, what he was doing was terribly wrong, so. But anyway, they go back up to the ship, and they're able to put Kirk back to bed together again, and he wakes up and he's going to be fine. But they tell him that he's not going to remember, like, everything that he did. So it's kind of an interesting thing, like, the memories that he made in the spirit form could not be transferred to the physical form. So even the very ending of the book, with, like, this, how he, like, they put him back together and stuff, everything was just very well done and very cool. And I didn't even bring up the Klingons. There were Klingons in this book for a brief period of time, and they made a great impression on me. Very cool characters, and like I said, just for like the one part of the last chapter that they were in, right? Just kind of subverted your expectations for what you're gonna get there. So, yeah, that was Ghostwalker, and that was a lot of fun, and I had a lot of fun talking about it. Um, Final thoughts: the telekinesis battle in the end was very unexpected and very fun, and like I said, it reminded me of something you'd see like in an anime, and to picture a haggard, worn out Kirk using telekinesis on a spectral version of himself as they battle throughout the bowels of the Enterprise. That was a very cool visual. Now, just again, lots of little details in this book, which were very cool, which kind of came back in later, and just a great job, a fun book, and I always have a good time reading Star Trek books, and I'm gonna read a lot more Star Trek books. The fact that I only was able to get through 3 in this past month and 6 days, is ridiculous. So we will dedicate a little bit more time so that we can get through some of these things. And the other thing too, though, I'm spending all my time reading these Star Trek, fiction books, or just the regular series. I have so much Star Trek reference that I am neglecting. So we definitely have to start getting into some of that at some point too. There's some fun things that we picked up that we want to talk about soon. So, yeah, let's end it there. As always, my friends, thanks for hanging out. Live long and prosper, and we'll see you guys in the next one. Good night.